I plummeted from the 72nd floor of the Sterling Tower, the wind whipping my screams into silence as the city lights blurred into a mocking constellation below. Alexander's face was the last thing I saw, twisted in that smug grin. His voice echoing in my head, "You're just a nobody, Josie." Always were. The impact should have ended it all. But death had other plans. I woke up gasping in my old Brooklyn apartment. 25 again. The morning of the merger that would ruin me. This time, I wouldn't fall. I'd drag him down first. The coffee was still hot in my chipped mug when the memories slammed back like a freight train. It was 2018, and I'd been fresh out of NYU, hustling as an intern at Sterling Enterprises, the kind of cutthroat real estate empire that built half of Manhattan's skyline. Alexander Harrington III, Alex to his trust fund buddies. The golden boy who'd inherited his father's ruthless drive but none of the charm, had swept into my life like a bad habit. We met at a networking mixer in the meatpacking district, where champagne flowed like water and everyone pretended not to notice the cocaine lines in the bathrooms. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with that effortless wasp polish, blonde hair slicked back, eyes like polished steel, and a laugh that made you feel like you were in on the joke. I was the scholarship kid from Queens, scraping by on ramen and ambition. But damn if he didn't make me believe I belonged. "You're different, Josie," he'd whispered that first night, his hand on my waist as we danced to some indie track in a loft party overlooking the Hudson. "Not like these vapid socialites. You've got fire."
Fire. Yeah, right.
I was fire to his gasoline, and he loved watching me burn. We fell into bed that night, and by morning, I was hooked. 6 months in, he pulled strings to get me a junior analyst gig at Sterling. His father, Old Man Harrington, Elias, they called him, a legend who'd clawed his way from nothing to own half the city's luxury condos, took one look at me and grunted approval. "Loyalty's everything in this business,
Girl.
don't forget it." If only he'd known. The betrayal started small. The way rot sets into an apple, you swear, is perfect. Alex and I were thick as thieves, plotting late nights over takeout Thai in his penthouse, dreaming of taking over the company someday. He confided in me about the pressure from Elias, how the old man was grooming him to inherit, but only if he proved himself. "Dad's got this merger coming up with Vanguard Properties," Alex said one night, his head in my lap as I ran fingers through his hair. "It's the big one. Billions on the line. But there's a glitch, some zoning permits we fudged to push through that waterfront development in Brooklyn."
Fudged.
That's corporate speak for bribed city officials and buried environmental reports. I laughed it off then, thinking it was just talk. But Alex wasn't joking. He needed a fall guy if things went south. Someone expendable to sign off on the paperwork.
Me.
He chose me. The nobody from Queens. The girl who thought love meant partnership. "It's just a signature, babe," he cooed when he slid the docs across the desk one rainy Tuesday.
For us.
For our future. My hand shook as I inked my name, Josephine Reyes, on the dotted line, sealing my fate without a clue. Weeks later, the merger hit the fan. Whistleblowers leaked the bribes. The feds circled like sharks. And Elias Harrington, ever the survivor, needed a scapegoat to save the empire. Alex pinned it all on me. "Josie's the one who handled the permits," he testified, cool as ice in that marble-paneled courtroom. She assured me everything was clean. The jury bought it hook,
Line.
and perjured sinker. Elias disowned the mess publicly but quietly pulled strings to keep the company afloat. while Alex got a slap on the wrist and a promotion.
Me?
18 months in federal prison for fraud. My name synonymous with corporate crook on every blog from HuffPost to the Wall Street Journal. Prison broke me in ways I'd never admit aloud. Rikers was a concrete jungle of fluorescent hell, where trust was a luxury and survival meant keeping your head down. I shared a cell with a lifer named Maria, who taught me how to spot a snake from a mile away. Men like your boy? They smile while they sharpen the knife. Letters from Alex dried up after the first month. First excuses, then silence. When I got out, paroled early for good behavior, the world had moved on. My parents wouldn't take my calls. Mom cried about the shame in our tight-knit Filipino community in Queens. Friends ghosted. And Alex? He was engaged to some Vassar debutante named Chloe, posting up pics from the Hamptons like nothing happened. I clawed my way back, waitressing doubles at a dive in Hell's Kitchen, crashing on Maria's sister's couch in the Bronx. But the fire Elias saw, it simmered, waiting. Then came the merger party at Sterling Tower, 2 years post-release. Alex's invite was a courtesy, a pity card to show he'd moved on. I went anyway, in a thrift store dress that hugged my ribs too tight from skipped meals. He cornered me by the bar, reeking of scotch, that grin flashing like a warning. Josie, you look resilient. Water under the bridge, right? I forced a smile, but inside, something snapped. We argued, quiet at first, then venomous. You ruined me, Alex. For what? Daddy's approval. He laughed, low and cruel. You were always a means to an end, sweetheart. A nobody playing dress-up in my world. He grabbed my arm, dragged me to the balcony overlooking the glittering abyss. One shove, deliberate, disguised as a stumble, and I was over the edge. No one saw. No one cared. Until now. Waking up that morning in 2018, sweat-soaked sheets tangled around me. I bolted upright, heart hammering like a jackhammer. The alarm blared some pop hit I hadn't heard in years. God, how I'd missed Spotify's algorithm. My reflection in the bathroom mirror was me at 25, fuller cheeks. No prison tattoos snaking up my forearm. Eyes bright with the naivete I'd lost. But the knowledge? That was mine now. Sharp as a shank. I had 3 months until the merger docs hit my desk. 3 months to rewrite the ending. First things first, I needed leverage. Alex's weakness wasn't money. He swam in it.
No.
It was his ego. That fragile glass throne built on Elias's shadow. And buried deeper, the secret he'd whispered once in a bourbon haze. Elias hadn't built Sterling from scratch. There was a partner. Long ago, a silent investor from the old neighborhood. Muscled out when Elias went legit. My abuelo, Ramon Reyes, had poured his life savings into the first deals, only to get erased from the ledgers when things got hot with the mob ties in the 80s. Elias paid him off with pennies and threats, leaving my family scraping by while Harringtons feasted. Alex knew. He'd laughed about it once, calling it the cost of the American dream.
Now.
It'd be his noose. I dressed in my interview suit, navy pencil skirt, white blouse that screamed, ambitious but not threatening, and headed to Sterling. The lobby was a cathedral of glass and chrome, security nodding me through like I belonged. HR buzzed me up to the 40th floor, where interns buzzed like bees around honey. There she was, Becca, the receptionist with the pink-streaked hair and gossip-honed radar. In my first life, She'd been my reluctant ally, spilling tea on Alex's flings. Josephine Reyes.
Right?
Mr. Harrington's expecting you. I smiled, slipping her a coffee I'd grabbed on the way. Extra foam.
Just how she liked.
Heard the merger's a beast. Any dirt? She leaned in, eyes lighting up. Girl, Alex is sweating. Something about old files his dad wants buried. Digitizing the archives this week. Total nightmare.
Perfect.
By lunch, I was hired as a temp archivist, buried in the basement vault with dusty ledgers and microfiche reels. Elias's empire started small, tenements in Hell's Kitchen, flipped into gold. But there, yellowed and forgotten, was the partnership agreement Ramon Reyes, 50% stake, dated 1982. Forged dissolution papers followed, Elias's signature a sloppy scrawl beside a notary who didn't exist. My hands trembled as I snapped photos on my burner phone, the kind you buy with cash at a bodega. This wasn't just revenge, it was restitution. My family's legacy. Stolen. I'd make Alex choke on it. Evenings blurred into strategy sessions in my shoebox apartment, walls papered with printouts and red string connections like some budget FBI board. I hit up old contacts from NYU professors who'd praised my ethics papers, now tenured and hungry for scandal. Josie. This could be Pulitzer stuff, Professor Lang murmured over Zoom, his Brooklyn accent thick. But Harringtons sue like sharks. You sure? Hell yes. I fed him anonymous tips. Watch the first ripples hit academic journals, unethical foundations of sterling enterprises. Alex texted that night, our first in this timeline. Hey stranger. Merger parties this weekend. Miss your fire? I typed back. Fingers flying. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Bait taken. The party was at the Standard. That hipster palace with infinity pools and city views that made you feel invincible. I arrived fashionably late, in a red sheath that hugged like armor, hair swept up to show off the silver hoops my mom gave me before she died. Alex spotted me across the room, mid-laugh with a cluster of suits, and sauntered over like he owned the night. Josie Reyes. You clean up nice. His eyes raked me, that old hunger flickering. I played it cool, sipping a gin and tonic, letting him pull me into a corner booth. Heard you're killing it on the archives, he said, arm draping casual over the backrest. Dad's impressed. Lies. But I nodded, leaning in just enough to catch his cologne, sandalwood and entitlement. We talked merger shop, his hand brushing my thigh under the table, electric as ever. But this time, I steered. Those old files. Wild stories. Like that Reyes guy, your dad's first partner? What happened there? His smile froze. Just a beat. Then recovered. Ancient history. Dad bought him out fair and square. Bullshit. I pressed. Innocent as pie. Family legend says different. My abuelo was Ramon. Small world. Huh. The color drained from his face. But he covered with a bark of laughter. No shit? That's poetic. Poetic. I'd make it tragic. By midnight, we were back at his place, his doing. My design. The penthouse hadn't changed, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the skyline. King bed with Egyptian cotton that swallowed you whole. He poured scotch, talked big about the future. But I saw the cracks, the way his eyes darted when I mentioned Elias's health rumors. Heart issues. Whispered in boardrooms, the old man was mortal. as he kissed me, urgent and familiar. I whispered back, "Trust me, Alex. Like I trusted you." He didn't catch the edge. Not yet. Weeks bled into a fever dream of calculated seduction and shadow games. Mornings, I'd wake tangled in Alex's sheets, his arm heavy across my waist like ownership, and slip out before dawn to pore over my war maps. The merger loomed, Vanguard's deadline in 60 days, and with it, the docs that'd brand me the villain. But I was rewriting the script, one leaked email at a time. Professor Lang's article snowballed. A podcast had picked it up. Empire of Shadows, dropping episodes that dissected Sterling's mobbed-up roots. Alex noticed, snapped at me over breakfast bagels one day. "You hear this crap about Dad? Some hack stirring ghosts." I feigned shock, buttering my everything bagel slow. "That's awful. Your family's solid. Solid like quicksand. Deeper in, the real dirt surfaced. Becca, bless her bleached soul, smuggled me access to the digital vault, passwords traded for concert tickets to Bad Bunny. There, buried in encrypted folders, was the crown jewel, audio files from Elias's 80s heyday. Grainy recordings of sit-downs in smoky backrooms. Voices thick with Queen's accents haggling over protection rackets. And Ramon's, my abuelo's, voice. Steady and proud. "This ain't right, Elias. We're building legit, not feeding the wolves." A scuffle, then silence, followed by Elias's cold drawl. "Partners share risks.
Ramon.
Sign or walk, your choice." The dissolution came next, coerced under duress. I burned it all to a thumb drive, heart pounding like I'd robbed Fort Knox. This wasn't just payback, it was justice, the kind courts too often sideline for the rich. But revenge has teeth, and mine started biting back. Alex grew paranoid, shadows under his eyes from late nights fielding Elias's calls. The old man summoned me to his office one crisp October afternoon, mahogany den on the 60th floor. Walls lined with oil portraits of Harrington patriarchs glaring down like jury members. Elias was a relic, silver hair thinned to wisps. Liver-spotted hands clutching a Montblanc pen like a scepter. "Miss Reyes," he rasped, motioning to the leather chair opposite. "Alexander speaks highly. Says you're invaluable." Invaluable. The word twisted in my gut, echoes of prison counts, where your worth was measured in commissary smokes. I sat, crossing my legs demure. "Just doing my job, Mr. Harrington." He steepled his fingers, eyes sharp behind bifocals. "Family's everything in this business. Loyalty." There it was, the sermon. I nodded, throat tight, thinking of Mom's funeral I missed inside. The way Dad's hands shook signing the papers for our foreclosed row house. Understood. Speaking of family, I found some old files on Ramon Reyes. My grandfather. His face didn't twitch, but the pen tapped once. Too hard. Ancient. Man was a dreamer, not a builder. Best forgotten. Forgotten. Like my childhood Christmases scraping by on Abuelo's pension. The stories of the big break that never came. I smiled. Venom sweet. Maybe. But truth has a way of resurfacing. That night, Alex confronted me in the kitchen of his penthouse. Half a bottle of Macallan Deep. "What the fuck did you say to Dad?" His voice cracked, that boyish petulance peeking through the air mask. I set down my wineglass, Merlot, bold as blood, and met his gaze. "Just chatting history."
Why?
"Guilty." He lunged, grabbing my wrist hard enough to bruise. Breath hot on my face. Don't play games. Josie. You're in over your head. Over my head. Like the Hudson rushing up to meet me 2 years from now. No. Not anymore. I twisted free, nails raking his forearm just enough to draw pinpricks of red. Games? This is chess. Alex. And you're the pawn. The fallout was biblical. Elias iced Alex from meetings, muttering about distractions, while Vanguard reps started whispering pullouts. I played the long game, feeding Lang more fuel, transcripts anonymized, timestamps scrubbed. The podcast hit viral. Sterling shadows trending on Twitter. Protesters chaining themselves to the Brooklyn site fences with signs. Harringtons built on blood money. Alex spiraled, popping Adderall like candy, screwing interns in supply closets to feel alive.
Me?
I was his anchor, the one constant, whispering sweet nothings that masked the storm. We'll fix this, I'd murmur post-fights, tracing the veins on his neck. Together. Lies. All of it. But they bought time. Then came the controversial call, the one that'd haunt my mirror stares for years. Chloe, the future Mrs. Harrington, reached out via LinkedIn, all bubbly emojis and brunch invites. In my first life, she'd been the knife twist, the socialite who pitted fucked Alex while I rotted.
Now.
She was leverage, a wild card with Daddy's Senate connections. We met at Sant Ambrius in Soho. Her blonde bob impeccable. Lululemon athleisure screaming old money casual. Alex mentioned you. She cooed over avocado toast, eyes scanning me like a threat. Sounds intense. Intense. Understatement of the century. I sipped my latte.
Casual. He's passionate.
But the merger stress. It's warping him. Sympathy play. Hook her ego as the savior. It worked too well. Chloe confessed over mimosas. Alex's old man had her father in his pocket. Campaign donations for zoning favors. Elias is old school, she sighed. Ruthless. But Alex? He's better. Better.
God.
The irony. I nodded. Planting seeds. He deserves the legacy. Without the skeletons. By coffee. She'd bitten, promising to chat with her dad about Vanguard's hesitations. Betrayal by proxy. Using her ambition against his. As I left, her hug lingered. Perfume cloying. Was I the monster now? Maybe. But monsters don't get pushed off buildings. November hit like a gut punch. Leaves carpeting Central Park in funeral pyres. The archives temp gig morphed into consultant. Elias's grudging nod to my discretion. Alex proposed during Thanksgiving at the Hamptons estate, kneeling on the widow's walk with a rock that could anchor a yacht. Ring glinting under string lights. Marry me, Josie. Make this real. His eyes pleaded, vulnerable for once. The boy peeking through the beast. My first instinct? Yes. The old muscle memory. But the future flashed. The shove. The fall. Nobody on his lips. I hesitated. Just a beat. Then smiled. Yes. Champagne corks popped. Toasts to empires eternal.
Inside.
I toasted to Ash. Behind the scenes, the noose tightened. Lang's exposé dropped in the Atlantic. The hidden partner, how Sterling erased a founder's legacy, complete with Ramon's photo. My spitting image faded to sepia. Elias had a minor stroke that week. Rumor mill churning. Alex blamed saboteurs, ramping security. But I was ghost in the machine, routing leaks through VPNs in coffee shops. Vanguard pulled funding Christmas Eve, citing ethical concerns. Chaos erupted. Layoffs. Stock dips. Elias roaring from his hospital bed via conference call. Find the rat. Alex. Cornered. Turned feral, hacking my phone amateur hour. Tailing me to Queens where I visited Abuela's grave, whispering plans to the wind. New Year's Eve. The fracture hit critical. We fought in the penthouse. Fireworks booming outside like artillery. It's you. Isn't it? He snarled, hurling my phone, screen cracking on marble. Evidence glowed. Text to Becca. Searches for Reyes partnership.
I didn't deny.
Stood tall. Chin up. Your family's built on my blood. Alex. Abuelo's sweat. My prison time. You stole it all. He laughed. Bitter. Circling like a shark. Prison? You sign the papers. Josie. Your choice. My choice. The lie that had echoed in my cell. Rage boiled. But I held. Voice steel. This ends now. Resign. Give back what's mine. He lunged. Hands on my shoulders, not shoving, but shaking. Desperation cracking his facade. I love you. Damn it. We can fix.
Love.
The word hung.
Poisoned.
In that moment, doubt flickered. What if? But the wind held memory. The fall. I twisted free, grabbing the thumb drive from my purse. Too late. As sirens wailed distant, celebrating the new year, I walked out, leaving him shattered glass and silence. January 2019 dawned frozen and furious. The city buried under a freak blizzard that shut down the bridges and turned Manhattan into a white-knuckled cage. Sterling Enterprises teetered. Elias bedridden in Mount Sinai, barking orders through a voice box that wheezed like an old radiator. The board circled. Vultures in Brooks Brothers. Sniffing for weakness. Alex called non-stop, voicemails slurring apologies. Then threats. You think you can bury us? We'll bury you. I changed numbers. Holed up in a sublet in Williamsburg. Walls thin as my patience. Plotting the kill shot. The controversial pivot came unbidden, courtesy of karma's cruel wit. Chloe, fiancé no more. Dumped via text after the exposé named her dad's contributions, showed up at my door. Snow-dusted and mascara-streaked. Clutching a bottle of Veuve. He's losing it. Josie. The company's imploding. We drank on the fire escape. City lights smudged through flurries. Her confessions spilling like the bubbles. Alex had confessed everything to her, the bribes. The frame job he'd planned for me. Even the whispers of pushing Elias out early for full control. He said you were collateral. Like, disposable. Disposable. The word ignited fresh fury. But Chloe's eyes held something sharper. Calculation. I want in. Take them down. My father's ruined if this sticks. Alliance forged in champagne and spite. Risky as hell, she was a Harrington by marriage, almost. With access I lacked. But her intel was gold. Elias's will. Tucked in a safe deposit box. Leaving 51% to Alex. The rest to charitable trusts that funneled back to the family. No mention of partners past. We hatched the play over takeout pho in her Upper East Side walk-up. Sue for Ramon's steak. Use the audio as Exhibit A. Force a settlement that dissolved the board and handed controlling interest to
Me.
Proxy through a shell corp. Chloe sketched on a napkin.
Her law school chops shining.
You as silent majority owner. Controversial? Understatement. It meant perjuring her on depositions, bribing a notary for forged affidavits, echoes of their sins. Mirrored back. As we clinked glasses. Guilt gnawed. Was I saving justice or birthing a new monster? Screw it. They started the fire. Lawyers descended like locusts, mine a shark from legal aid turned boutique. Pro bono for the story of the century. Filings hit federal court Valentine's Day. Headline screaming. Intern sues empire. Heirs betrayal or founder's fraud? Alex countersued for defamation, painting me as the gold digger scorned. Paparazzi swarmed my stoop, tabloids dubbing it the nobody's revenge. Mom called from Queens, voice trembling. Mija, is this true? About your Tito Ramon? I lied smooth, just setting records straight.
Ma.
But nights, alone. The what-ifs clawed. What if Abuelo wanted peace? Not war? What if exposing the rot poisoned the well, for everyone? Crescendo built through spring. Depositions a theater of lies. Elias testified from a wheelchair. Frail but feral. Reyes was a crook. Took his cut and ran. I stared him down across the oak table. The audio playing tinny from speakers, his own voice damning. His eyes bulged. Monitors beeping frantic. Alex took the stand next. Suit rumpled. Tie askew, the polish cracking. Josephine knew the risks, he spat, avoiding my gaze. She wanted in on the dream.
Dream.
I cross-examined myself in the mirror later. Practicing the kill, Mr. Harrington. Did you ever call MS Reyes a nobody? Objection sustained, but the seed planted. Whispers rippling through the gallery. Twist hit mid-trial. A gut-wrencher from left field. Chloe's phone buzzed during recess, a voicemail from Alex. Slurred and sobbing. I did it for us.
Chloe. Dad.
He killed Ramon. Not threats. Pushed him down the stairs in '89. After the split. Covered it up. Made it look like a fall. I found the note last year. That's why I framed Josie. Keep the secret buried.
Killed.
Abuelo didn't just vanish. He was murdered. Bones broken on cold concrete for a stake in the pie. The courtroom spun. Judge calling recess as I bolted to the bathroom, retching into porcelain. Not fraud, homicide. Elias. The Titan. A killer. And Alex. Complicit by silence. Rage transmuted to ice. Resolve hardening. Chloe and I amended the suit. Wrongful death addendum. Statute be damned via civil claims. Leaks hit the press pre-dawn. Sterling founder accused of murder in founder's fall. Stock plummeted 40%. Board fled like rats. Elias arrested in his hospital gown. Cuffs clinking like wind chimes. Alex vanished. Holed up in the Hamptons. Lawyered to the gills. But the noose was velvet now. Choking slow. Final showdown unfolded not in court, but the Sterling Tower boardroom. June's swelter turning the air thick as betrayal. I'd won interim control via injunction, proxy shares vested. Chloe's testimony sealing it. Alex arrived last, gaunt in a black turtleneck. Eyes hollowed by scotch and solitude. The room cleared at my nod. Security. Lawyers.
All.
Just us. City sprawling indifferent below. You did it, he rasped, collapsing into Elias's chair, now mine. The Empire. Gone. I stood at the window, tracing the skyline Abuelo helped forge. Not gone. Reclaimed. He laughed. Wet and broken. Revenge tastes like ash. Josie. Dad's dying in custody.
I
I loved you. In my way.
loved.
The word curdled, but pity flickered for the boy crushed under the name. The choices that chained him. Your way destroyed me. Twice. Silence stretched. Then his whisper. The note. It's real. Forgive. Forgiveness? A luxury for the unbroken. But twist of fate. In his pocket. A folded envelope. Elias's confession. Scrawled in failing script. Absolving Ramon. Admitting the push. For the boy,
It read.
make it right. Alex slid it over. Hands shaking. Yours. End it clean. I took it. Wait like absolution. Not for him, for me.
Resign.
Walk away. Or I go public, murder. Cover up. All. He nodded, signing the transfer papers with a flourish that mocked his fall. As he rose, pausing at the door, eyes met mine, steel to fire.
Equals at last.
You're somebody now. Josie. Be better. The door clicked shut. Elevator humming descent. Summer broke humid and hopeful. Sterling reborn as Reyes Holdings. Waterfront project greenlit with community co-ops. Not condos for the elite. Mom beamed at the ribbon cutting. Dad's hand steady on mine.
Chloe?
Partner in the firm. Her edge honed sharper.
Me? CEO.
Legacy reclaimed, but scars etched deep, nights waking to phantom winds. The falls echo. Happy ending?
Hell no.
Bittersweet, laced with what-ifs. But as I stood on that balcony, wind gentle now, I whispered to the ghosts, we won. And for once, the city whispered back.